I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders. Through dreams we design, with vision we build.
And welcome to MuscleSport Media Live, and Happy New Year to all. Born on 2025, we are here at WGBB Radio, 95.9 FM, 1240 AM on your radio dial. I am here with my co-host tonight, pinch hitting for Anthony, who is not feeling well. He's got a little bit of a cold, flu kind of thing. But my son Jimmy, the sports guy, is going to be here, so you know we're going to be doing a little sports tonight, and of course also Trevor behind the glass getting it all out there and bringing it to you. We could not be here doing this if it wasn't for our friends over at Noah Construction-Builders.com. Pete and all the guys, no job too big nor small for the boys at Noah Construction. Check them out, and I'm digging these mic flags, Trevor. I love it. I think it looks really cool. Guys, we started with them last week. It's definitely a good addition to the studio. What do you think about it, James?
Look nice.
You
nice,
like
professional.
It looks nice. It's professional. It is very professional. Well, this is a professional studio. It's real radio. This isn't a podcast. This isn't some kind of vlogger and blogger and all of that. This is a real radio show. So I'm very proud to be here. And also, of course, WGBB has been around for 101 years now, going counting. 2024, so we celebrated the centennial last year.
Just a bit older than Jimmy Carter was.
Yeah, just a bit older, and almost as old as me, right?
Yeah. Getting there.
Getting there. So the holidays are gone. They are behind us in the rearview mirror, and that means that next month, pitchers and catchers report to spring training, Arizona and Florida, respectively. A lot of moves still to be made around the league. Of course, we'll talk about the Mets and the Yankees, but we're gonna, we're not just homers. We talk about everything, the full league. The latest move was Charlie Morton, 1-year deal to the Baltimore Orioles, taking the place of Burns, who left and went to Arizona, correct?
Yeah, Corbin Burns to the D-backs.
Got a lot of money from Arizona, right? Long-term deal.
Yeah, 6 years, $210 million.
It's a lot of money, but he is a good pitcher, and they want to get back to prominence. They had an off year last year. They were the pennant-winning team 2 years ago, so good for them spending money and coming to the table. I like Morton. You're not as high on Morton as I was. I would have liked if the Mets would have gave him that 1-year deal.
I think it's about 2 years too late on Morton. And he was great in 2021 for Atlanta when they won the World Series. He pitched that game one and pitched with a broken leg after he got hit by a comebacker for a couple innings.
It's like T.O. in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but leg. He's like 40 almost, 39. He's up there.
But last 4 years, 30 starts at least.
He has pitched.
That's, when the guy can get out there every 4 days and get your innings. I know he was under 500 for a team that was above 500 last year. So that's a sign sometimes that, maybe the clock is ticking on his arm. But I'm curious to see how he does. With obviously Baltimore is looking to make the playoffs again and get back to where they were 2 years ago. Won the division last year with a wild card team and lost to the Yanks. So Baltimore picking up Charlie Morton. What other moves have been more recently that have piqued your interest?
We can expand upon Burns to the Diamondbacks. I mean, that move surprised everyone because there was really no rumors linking the two. Most people figured Burns would either go to San Francisco or maybe Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
But, the Diamondbacks, they came out of nowhere to get him. But it's a team that spends money on pitching historically. They spent money to bring in Randy Johnson.
Yep.
That paid off with their first ring. Spent to bring in Schilling, Zach Greinke.
I was going to say Greinke. Wait, took the
Madison Bumgarner, which that one didn't work out.
Yeah.
Jordan Montgomery, which also didn't work out. But they are aggressive when they try to sign starting pitching, and they saw a team last year that had a really good offense, but their pitching didn't do its job, so they're trying to correct that.
Yeah, Montgomery was a whiff on that. Unfortunately, they brought him in to be the big, acquisition off-season starter.
Yeah, so
And it didn't happen. But I like to see movement around the league and different teams making moves. I mean, even a team like the A's have been making moves and bringing in some guys like we spoke about last time. It was, I think, right after
Severino
signed there. And since then, the Mets have brought back Sean Manaea, which we both think it's a great move. I mean, he's a left-hander, 3-year deal. It's not a long-term deal.
pitched great for you after he made those adjustments mid-season.
He's their ace,
And
plain and simple.
great clubhouse guy, great leader.
Mhm.
I just thought it was right to bring him back. Severino is a little more wary of because of his injury history.
Yeah.
But Manaea, with the adjustments he made, he has potential to be a real top 2 guy in a good rotation.
Yeah, I mean, and they're going to be a contending team, obviously. They're going to have a heck of an offense. Still not done yet, but I mean, just with the, bringing in Soto to what they had last year. And I think at the end of the day, Alonso's going to be back in New York. I think he turned down the 3-year deal. He wants something longer. I think they'll come to some happy medium, a 4-year kind of deal with maybe some incentive money or something like that. And you had said maybe an opt-out. If he has a big year, he can maybe opt out and try to get something longer. But I think the Mets bringing him back, to me, like I said, with Anthony, he was really happy with the Soto move, as it was I. But I feel it's still incomplete till you need that big bat for him to be hitting next to, and that big bat is the first baseman. Right now, we don't have one. As a Mets, Met fan talking, they don't have one. And Alonso is probably going to be the guy. I guess there really isn't a lot out there besides him, right? There was the Santander.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Santander's out
I
there,
always
but
botch that name. I call it the bank name, Santander.
But he is, more of a guy who's probably going to play every day in the outfield for someone, maybe the Blue Jays. That's been the team mostly linked to him. With the Mets, he would DH, and they already have Marte, so they'd have to trade him. Both righty hitting. Yeah, it's not a clean fit, even though on paper he's a 40 home run hitter. He would fit in nicely.
Yeah.
Whereas Alonso just slots back into his spot. They also
need a first baseman.
Could shift Vientos to first.
Not a fan of that.
And with third, they could either bring in an Alex Bregman, which I really don't think is going to happen, or potentially try to, hope Mauricio or Beatty are able to step up and fill that spot. But that's risky.
That's from within. It's okay, but listen. Vientos had a great year. I think leaving him where he was not a butcher at third base by any stretch. Listen, he's not Brooks Robinson, but he was
able to hold his own.
He was fine. He was more than serviceable at that spot, and he's only going to get better as he plays there more often, because he wasn't a full-time third baseman in the minor leagues, right? He moved around.
He DH'd a lot just because who else the Mets had with Beatty in the organization?
Yeah,
Mauricio.
Exactly. So now having him being an everyday third baseman, not looking over his shoulder, not having to worry about it, I think that's only going to help him on both ends of his game, defensively and offensively, and he was a really good, surprising, good bat last year. That's why, to me, bringing back Alonso makes so much sense, because you don't have to worry about just moving this guy, bringing this guy in, put him back where he belongs on the Mets, and he's going to have a much better lineup hitting in just because of the addition of a Juan Soto and what he brings to the table.
Juan Soto, he solves a lot of lineup problems on his own.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who works every count. He doesn't swing at garbage in the dirt. He works every count. He's got an on-base percentage over 400 with 35 to 40 home run power and big doubles, RBIs. I mean, he's everything you want in a hitter.
Yeah, and it's usually a guy that brings that much production and power is more of a free swinger, which he breaks that mold, which makes him so much more like Griffey was like that. I mean, he brings a lot of positives to the table besides the obvious. Like you're saying, you got to watch the at-bat to see stuff like that. You can't just look at a scorecard at the end of the game and look and see that.
It also helps how he'll age. I mean, he's not going to be a superstar 15 years from now, but, you don't lose that eye at the plate. If you know how to control an at-bat, how to wait for a pitch to hit, you're not going to lose that as you get older. You're going to lose bat speed and power, but, you aren't going to lose
Discipline.
those intangibles.
Yeah.
So that'll help him on that long-term deal.
Exactly. It's a great point. People, these are the things that don't show up in the box score. Intangibles, things like that. And Jeter was really good at certain things, that being one of them. Working account and the things he brought to the table, professionalism. I can see Soto, even though he's a little younger than that, I could see him being, maybe growing into that type of guy, because he's going to be with the Mets long term. He bounced around a little bit early in his career so far now. But I think once now he's established with this one team, he's going to grow into this kind of player that, like Lindor kind of has become.
Yeah.
Like the unofficial captain. We were talking in the car ride, is there, speculation about are they going to give him the captain? They're going to retire right, so it kind of just seems like almost like passing the baton kind of thing. So I see Soto being like Francisco Lindor kind of player, where he brings so much to the table on the field, off the field, in the clubhouse, things that you don't see him doing on TV. But his teammates recognize that, and it's very important for a winning team to have that type of attitude from their star players that can just sit there and lead by example, if you will. And I think Alonso, even though he's a power hitter and he chases things, he leads by example as well. And I think he's a perfect fit for this team. But let's just say, argument's sake, Alonso leaves the Mets. Who do they bring in?
Said it could be a Santander or a Bregman. I mean, it's hard to say.
It's really not a lot.
There aren't that many names out there that make sense,
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard to say. But either way, they're going to be a good team. But they
Yeah.
really could use him back. I mean,
They need power. Let's just be honest.
They need another bat. Even though Soto replaces Alonso's bat, you want to add to the team, not just replace.
Even though Soto, he might home runs,
Hit
maybe
more home runs than Alonso.
I know, but he's not a power hitter per se. Even though
40 home runs, you're a power
listen,
hitter.
but I mean, he's different type of. I like that slugger, like Judge, like Alonso, that like Reggie Jackson was, Dave Kingman was. I'm talking about just a guy that's just a bopper. I like to see a bopper hit next to a guy like Soto. Now, an interesting thing you brought up, obviously the Braves are gonna be back.
Yeah,
They were still back last year, even with all of the injuries.
They were destroyed by
Destroyed
injuries,
by
and they
injuries.
still won 89 games. And
Mets had
Yeah.
that was, look at the extra games, the rainouts and the games, the Lindor, double header, Lindor, walk off. Well, not walk off.
Cuna's going to be back. Riley's going to be back.
And now,
Albies.
what is that rumor that you heard about an addition to their staff possibly after they lose a veteran in Morton, right-handed veteran?
There's been, reports that they're looking into Justin Verlander, and a guy who he was okay for the Mets, but that season just fell apart with him, and they traded him.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good fit. The team was just a mess.
It was all around. I
Yeah.
can't kill Verlander on it, but it wasn't.
The team they fell flat from the jump.
Bad.
It was just bad.
Bad things just happened to that team from the beginning between him and Scherzer and everything, and it wasn't this great thing. But now he's been back with the Astros, and how is he? I mean,
he was good down the stretch of 2023 when the Mets traded him back, but this year was just a disaster. He was hurt
injuries.
and was just not good when he pitched.
Yeah,
he was left off the playoff roster.
That surprised me a lot. I was really surprised at that. Even if he wasn't going to be in their rotation, in the playoffs, your starters come in the third, fourth inning out of the pen. It's a completely different strategy as the regular season. But can you see him duplicating a Chris Sale?
Potentially. I mean, Sale looked like his best days had left him 5 years ago, and he goes there and has the best season of his career.
12-4.
This guy's one of the best. Was one of the best
Young.
pitchers of the 2010s. Wins his first Cy Young and the Triple Crown. I mean,
Yeah.
the Braves. They're just a good organization that does pretty much everything well.
Yeah.
And that rubs off on guys. And Verlander goes there. He tweaks his arsenal. He gets healthy, plays with a good team, a fun team, and probably ends up pitching better.
How interesting would that be? A late season. A big series, it could be multiple teams fighting for the top spot. I mean, the Phillies are really good. I mean, that's a loaded division right now. But the Braves are going to be there, and they just that thorn in the Mets side. How wild would it be, like almost like a must-win game at Citi Field, and Justin Verlander starting for Atlanta?
Be a lot of boos if he shuts them down.
I mean, he'll get boos, and that's just the way fans are.
I mean, fans
shouldn't get
weren't
it.
mad at him. That season was just a mess. It wasn't his fault. I mean, it happened.
They got rid of those 2 veterans. They paid their salary, and they got good return with the youngsters
and
that they got.
Retooled, and they're way better for it now. They improved their farm and used some of that freed up money to go give it to Juan Soto.
Yeah, so I mean,
those trades were great. I mean,
worked out. I mean, totally behind
Billy
those trades.
Epler's parting gift before the league
league
suspended him for faking, which is something every team does, where they tell a guy who's got a headache, okay, we're going to put you on the IL so we don't have to cut you.
Yeah.
And
it's an unwritten rule, but
somebody,
it is a
someone
written rule.
who had a bone to pick with him called up Manfred and said,
the dime
hey,
on him.
guess what? I got this email of him saying something.
Rats. I
And
hate rats.
Got him suspended for, I think, a full year.
What a shame. I mean, it worked out good with Stearns. Ended up becoming, I think he's done a fantastic job with the Mets. He spent a rich guy's money smartly, where he can just
he hasn't needed to hand
paint
out
the town,
hundreds of millions.
He's been smart with it.
Given it to a guy like Soto who deserved it.
It's different. That's a
picked up
generational player.
Minaya and Severino for 1-year deals last year, and Mets fans got crazy and said, "Why aren't we signing any stars?" And these guys pitched like stars and led you to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You took 2 games off the Dodgers in the championship series. Now he's trying it again with Montas and Holmes. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, I mean, they're bringing in a lot of guys, similar situation as the year before with the, some of these, you call them projects, if you will, reclamation projects. I like the moves they made. I think they'll find 5 guys. I think if they can bring in somebody else that might get cut late in the spring training kind of thing, like a veteran, and you bring him in, and maybe you keep him around. But I think they're pretty much set. There really isn't availability of anybody out there. I mean, even in the trade market, who's trading a top starter right now?
Teams don't give up starters. I mean, in this starting market, pitchers Frankie Montas has dealt with injuries and has been bad for the last couple of years and got like a 2-year, 20-something million.
Yeah, he still got him paid.
He got real money. I mean, in this pitching market, if you have a good pitcher, you're not giving him up because it's hard to replace him.
And I don't crochet. The Red Sox, to me, are going to regret that deal. I didn't want any part of him. This is a guy that didn't even pitch 5 innings last year when he still was way under pitch counts. Took himself out of games. I don't care how bad the team was. You're a major league pitcher.
Yeah. Crochet has all the potential to be a Cy Young winning pitcher if he can stay healthy and pitch more innings. But that deal made more sense for Boston than it would have for the Mets. Boston had the best farm in baseball. They had the pieces to trade. They didn't need the guys they gave up.
Yeah.
The Mets, you're going to give up a Jet Williams, who's your best prospect, plus others.
Those are deadline guys. If they would have gave up like a Beatty and then somebody double-A guy.
You would have had to give up 2. You're probably your 2.
Yeah.
Their 3 best prospects.
They wanted even what's his Thomas Ikema, that Braves brother guy. Acuna.
They wanted Acuna, Williams, and Sproat, their best pitching prospects.
Sproat, that's a guy you want to hang on to
Crochet,
as far as you can.
Maybe they'll be kicking themselves. He's a great pitcher, but the Red Sox, they had the depth in their farm to risk that deal not working. The Mets didn't.
To me, I don't think he has what it takes to be a winner. I don't think he has the heart and stuff. I could be totally wrong, but to me, when I read that he took himself out of a game, like he was pitching like a 4 1/3, and I think they were either ahead or tied or whatever, it wasn't an injury. He felt like he was not on his best game and took himself out. I can't stand
I don't
Shame
like
on
it, but
the manager for letting it happen.
I also can't fully blame him. This is a guy who's trying to get an extension.
But that's what I think it is. He was pitching on a team
But
that was
I can't fully blame him.
record-breaking losers.
If you blowing that arm out is the difference between that and $150 million.
Yes.
I can't say I blame him.
But that, to me, that I can't stand that. I don't know. I can't accept a player taking himself out of a game and letting his teammates and everybody down, the organization, just because he might.
If there is an organization to let down that deserves it, it is the White Sox. They've done themselves no favors.
Wow.
Their players have no reason to be loyal or help that
true.
team.
Well, that's another one. We were talking about that just a couple of years ago.
They'll
Tim Anderson.
Luis Robert, Tim Anderson, Lucas Giolito,
Yeah.
Carlos Rodon, Liam Hendricks, the closer,
These are all big names.
Yoan Moncada, and Jose Abreu at first.
Yeah. With like Tim
Eloy
Anderson
Jimenez.
completely fell off the cliff.
He went to Florida and was like the worst player in baseball for a month. Got caught and no one picked him up.
And this was the guy who hit the homer in the Field of Dreams. I mean, it was such a great feel-good story.
From 2019 to 2021, Anderson was one of the most exciting players.
Awesome.
He won the batting title.
Was it that fight he lost?
Jose Ramirez punched him. Yeah, he punched the talent out of him.
That was a great fight.
Yeah, it's one of the few good baseball fights you'll see in recent times.
He knocked the crap out of him.
But Anderson, I mean, he was one of the most entertaining players. He was the bat flips, the yelling, getting into fights. That one didn't work out. He was just fun to watch.
He was a two-way player. I mean, he was good in the field. He was a good hitter. I mean, it was just an exciting player. And I don't know.
But that team looked like they were going to be one of the better teams in the AL for the next 5 or so years.
They had young stars.
And they had that 1 year where they inexplicably hired Tony La Russa. And even though they did make the playoffs under him, that was the one playoff appearance they got. I mean, they had it in the shortened COVID year, but it's expanded playoffs.
Yeah, it's an asterisk on that one.
But it looked like they were on the rise. They had one really good year, and since then, I mean, it was forgettable for a couple of years, and then just misery this year.
Oh, and La Russa, I mean, they had great memories with him. He was with them when they won the American League West.
A legendary manager, but he was falling asleep on the bench, literally. He was
he's a little older
78,
now,
79 years old.
He fell asleep behind the wheel, too, one time.
That one was influenced by something, though.
Yeah.
He also had that where he forgot to pinch run for a slow player late in the game, and the fans next to the dugout yelled and said, "You got to pinch run."
And then he did it.
I mean,
at least he listened.
But he needed a fan to remind him
Where's his bench coach on that one?
That his catcher is slow and they should put in the pinch runner in the ninth.
Yeah, let's get we need to get that runner across. Chicago White Sox. I mean, I almost was kind of like, I didn't want the Mets to lose. That was like a dubious, the 120 loss. It was a dubious record, but it wasn't like something that was like, oh, you hang your head in shame. Like, Met fans wore it almost as a badge of honor. Even Howie Rose on Twitter was like, I don't want them to break that record.
Yeah, I guess it's because just the Mets have made the lovable losers.
It was that team. It was before my time, obviously, but just
not too much.
Not too much. 5 years before my time. But the '62 Mets, you look at it and you're just like, I mean, no matter how bad they were, they loved that team because it was the return of the Dodgers and the Giants. More Giants because of the Polo Grounds, but it was return to NL baseball in New York City. So it was. They could have lost 100, and they think there was 2 games they didn't make up because they were 40 and 120. So there was 2 games that were rained out. They didn't bother making up, but they had no implications. So that's why it's kind of a weird looking stat because it doesn't add up to the 162. But they would have probably lost both of them. So now, what did the White Sox end up at? 123?
121. They
121.
broke, and then I think they won like their last 2 games to avoid sinking further. But
I think if the Mets played those 2 games, they would have lost both of them. They'd still hold the record. They should have made them up as a doubleheader. But Chicago White Sox. I'm rooting for them to get better. I mean,
but they're not going to be good for probably 5 or 6 years.
Who's managing them now? I don't even know. They got rid of like 2 guys last year, right? The interim after that.
Yeah, I don't even know who they hired there. And I know a lot of these guys, but it's a revolving door over there.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's a great town. Obviously, it's a Cubs town, even though both teams have been around forever. It's different with the Mets and the
Great
Yankees.
uniforms.
Oh, great
good
uniforms.
history.
The history's fantastic. Old Comiskey Park was a great place to watch a game on TV. I never had a chance to go to either one of them in person, but on TV it was the exploding scoreboard. I mean, had a lot of fun involved. Bill Veck, when he owned the team, they had the shorts. You've seen pictures of the softball uniforms. They had the big collars on their jerseys.
Yeah,
in the
the
70s.
collared ones were the ones they brought back that Chris Sale disapproved of and cut them up so they couldn't wear them. They suspended him because they were trying to make him wear them, and he said, "I'm going to cut them up," and they said, "No, you're not," and he said, "Okay."
Yes, I will.
Not just his whole team, so they sent him home, and they still had to wear their other jerseys that night.
But now, if he cut them all up, what did they have available?
Their regular home jerseys.
Oh, so they couldn't wear those then?
Yeah, they were destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, if he literally
back
cut
there,
everybody's
found a
jersey
scissor
up in
and
the locker room.
Cut him down the middle and said, "I'm not wearing them." And they suspended him, I think, 5 games for it.
Oh,
Fined
that's
him.
funny.
But he was like, "These are ridiculous. I refuse."
They were ridiculous, but it was cool because, it's a throwback. That's what they really wore. I mean, they went through a weird period, and then they went to their other logo with the socks and the batter, and they were good. That's when La Russa was with them. And they won the Lamar Hoyt.
I like
their
that logo.
star
It's cool. They still wear that throwback, I think, on Sundays, that white with the socks.
With the Sox
batter,
guy. Yeah, they ended up being a pretty good team. And I forget what year it was. It was somewhere in the 80s. They won the AL West. Greg Lazinski was their DH. They had a likable bunch of guys. But we're going to have to leave it there because we are out of time on this week's episode of Muscle Sport Media Live. Thank you, Jimmy, for pinch hitting for Anthony once again. And we will see you guys in 1 week. MuscleSportMag.com/store. Good job, buddy.
Noah, I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders, through dreams we design, with vision we build.